The Pyramid of Death. The statements of Michael Crawley and Sally Murphy written by Gavin Lewis prologue in our darkest times, we feel the most alive. This is where I find myself now, balancing on a knife's edge, trying not to be dragged down into that darkness. Trying to fight this state of confusion, I feel dizzy and sick. I am alive, though. I awoke just moments ago, my head spinning with the most bizarre cluster of events that led me to where I am now alone in a field with no clue where I am, dried blood on the back of my neck, and had the result of being hit over the head hours earlier, perhaps. By that man, yes, I am starting to remember. I take a look around, taking in my surroundings. I feel better now. The blood has started to pump again, and the dizziness has subsided. I see a wired fence all along the eastern side of the field I am in. It looks like farmland laying by some woods. I notice a clearing, and releasing I'm not going to succumb to my wounds, so I gather my feet and head for the small opening. There was a gate with plenty of trees around to provide some cover from the harsh feeling of exposure the open field was giving me. In this moment of elation, my thoughts wander back to my would-be attacker. He was a small gray-haired man wearing a pinstripe suit with a pocket watch and bowler hat. He would not have looked out of place in a Western with the short gray beard and thin wired spectacles. The first time I saw him was at the farm. And earlier tonight, Chapter 1 Cult of Anxiety, Michael Crawley. He inquired on that cool morning at Crawley Farm just south of Londonderry, Ireland. I thought it was strange that someone would be out and about so early in these remote parts, lest they were another neighboring farmer themselves. Yes, that's me, I replied with a puzzled expression. I would like, if I may, offer you a proposal, he said. What would that? Was quickly losing patience with the man. I didn't like visitors at the best of times. It made me feel like an imposter. With me inheriting the farm from my estranged father, there was naught but a few archers and the farmhouse left to me. No real farm work had happened there since the 90s. It was just me camping out from the world, with people assuming what was left of the family business was still somehow functional, even though it was clear to me the place was a ruin. I happen to be a member of the Holy Grand Arch of Ireland. We have a little get-together at the Half Moon pub, just a small group of us mind, he said, smiling as if to win me over and play down the weird club he is a member of, the Holy Grand Arch. At the time, I assumed such a thing would be to do with God or the Masons. The Half Moon does some good ales. Are you after new members? I asked. Well, no, not exactly, though you would be free to join like any of our members going through the proper channels. No, what I have come to inquire about is the unusual structure at the back of your property. It would be the perfect setting for our group's Abiff celebration on the 20th of May, he said, looking at me encouragingly. I reached in my pocket and pulled out my cigarettes and lit one swiftly with the lighter already in my other hand. The unusual structure he was referring to was that damnable black pyramid that lay to the south of the farmhouse. It was not visible from the house anymore. 4 years ago, when my father died, I inherited the farmhouse and the small piece of land behind it. I had the pyramid obscured from view, so it was not visible from the farmhouse, with some birch trees and a tall hedge. If you were to look down at the bottom of the field today, you would think the garden ended with the trees. But just behind that is a stone pyramid made from jet and covered in strange markings, with an opening at the front with what looks like a trapdoor entrance on the floor inside the small enclave at the front of the structure. However, there is nothing underneath it. Just topsoil sat on a muddy bank next to a crumbling stone wall, and I hate the thing. It scared the crap out of me as a child, and my efforts to obscure it from view in adulthood have always been working towards completely forgetting the damn thing existed in the first place. Sorry, the pyramid isn't there anymore. It was knocked down years ago, I said. Is that so? It is a shame. It could have been Londonderry's own mini Stonehenge. We could have worshipped it at the winter solstice, he said, looking unconvinced by my white lie. Oh well, best be off then. Shame it was an exciting curiosity, that pyramid. Nothing else like it if you ever change your mind. Be sure to drop into the Masonic offices in Crawley. See ya then. He turned to walk away. Sorry, bye. I dotted my cigarette on the fence, still damp from the rain. I felt bad for lying to him, but the last thing I wanted was a bunch of old hippies dancing around my backfield, and especially not around that creepy black stone pyramid. I remember asking my dad about it when I was young, about 8 or 9. He said it wasn't that old. Built in the 19th century, he told me. the pyramid was just a novelty of that era, and it doesn't really have any story to it, no more than a garden gnome or water fountain. I think this was to put me at ease. I have Googled them since, and it would seem they're quite common, more common than you would think, with about 16 others just like the one in my backyard scattered around England, Wales, and Ireland. None of them exactly like the one I have, though. I like to tell myself that it is just some garden ornament of yesteryear, but the childhood horror creeps back down my spine thinking about the thing, being alone in the house on a Sunday afternoon, promising my dad I will behave so he leaves me to my video games whilst he goes to market. I remember looking out the back kitchen window, seeing that ominous black pyramid. It felt like it was looking back at me. I spent the rest of that night ruminating about lots of things from my childhood, not just creepy pyramids, but other things my dad said to me when he was alive. When he found out I was hooked on OxyContin at the age of 18. My dad, an Irish farmer stuck in his ways, I imagined it, took its toll on him finding me in hospital a bunch of times. But I don't really think that was the reason he stopped talking to me fully when I moved to England. I swapped OxyContin for weed. Coke and hard liquor during my time at art college, that's when the true silence began. I really do think it wouldn't have mattered how many drugs I was on if I had taken on the farm instead of all the drugs, partying, and an art degree that didn't really do me any good in the end. Maybe that's why he still left me the farmhouse. I ended up back where he wanted me anyway. Damn him. 4 years of living back here and kidding myself into thinking I will fill my life with purpose. Get something off the ground, maybe start that novel or do my masterworks. Yeah, all I've done since I have been back is drink away my inheritance in the half moon and shit my pants at the thought of that black pyramid. With that, I went to sleep. Michael, are you? Awoke with a rapping on the door and a woman's voice. Mike, hello. I'm here, just give me a sec, I will let you in. I pulled my dressing gown over me and grabbed for my cigarettes. I lit one and processed downstairs. The voice I could hear was my good friend Sally. I had known her from school, and she is really the only person I still know around these parts. I undid the latch and let her in. You look like shit, Mike. Thanks for that, I didn't get much sleep, I said as I prized the sleep from my eyes. Much sleep, Michael, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she said as she was heading straight for the drinks cabinet. I need a dram, you got anything strong? She said as she was practically helping herself. Yeah, there's whiskey at the top. Do me one too. I passed her 2 short glasses and she poured. Not like you, Mike, first thing as you just woke up. Well, it's been a busy night in my head, so fuck it. Let's get out of here and go out. I'm sick of seeing these walls, I said as I took the whole drink in a few gulps. Go where to the fucking half moon? I don't want to spend my day off stuck at work. Plus all the loonies are in tonight. Sally poured another drink for us both at the thought of the place. She was working part-time at the Half Moon pub. The pub was situated in Crawley, a small village about a mile up the road from Crawley Farm and 9 miles from Londonderry City. Neither of us had a car. I suppose I could use the tractor to drive us somewhere else. She didn't say anything, but I imagine it was the ordeal of what I was proposing that was putting her off going out rather than the place we would end up, even if it was walking to the Half Moon. I gave it one more go at twisting her arm to come with me. Loonies, can't be that bad. Who is it, the ukulele band? I said with a smirk. No, it's the pissing Holy Grand Arch lot that sit and drink gin in the corner and chatter in hushed voices. Them lot give me the creeps, she said with a grimacing face. Holy Grand Arch. No way, there was a guy here yesterday morning who said he was a member. I took my glass and pressed it back up to my lips as I could see the cogs turning in Sally's head. What was you up so early for? Stood outside pretending to be a farmer in front of joggers and dog walkers again. Sally started to laugh. One thing I liked about her, she would always have me bang to rights about numerous things. The joggers and pretending to be a real farmer. One of them, damn her. I looked at her, stood laughing at my expense. Her long blonde hair was waving around as her chubby red cheeks rose up near her eyes, and her ample breasts bounced around her small and round frame. 33, and she still looks the same as she did when we were in school. I wasn't pretending to be a farmer again. I was out for some air and a cigarette. Yeah, haha, so which wizard was it that came to see you? What did he say? She asked. It was some little gray-haired fella in a pinstriped suit and a hat. He was asking about that old stone thing. I think they all wanted to dance naked around it or something, I said. Come off it, old stone thing. You mean the Pyramid of Death? Haha. Sally had called the Black Stone Pyramid the Pyramid of Death since school days. To think we used to play around that thing and sometimes hide in it. To tell you the truth, I only ever dared go near the thing when Sally was with me, and she would make up games to play and work that damnable thing into the games we were playing. Okay then, the Pyramid of Death, huh? I said no to them. It's covered up now by the hedge and the trees at the end of the garden, out of sight, out of mind. I slam my glass down on the table in triumph. You big puff, as if you're still scared of it. I sucked off Gary Wilson up against that thing. It's true she did suck Gary off in my dad's backfield the last year of school. When they told me to keep watch, I never imagined the event took place right next to that black pyramid. We drank into the night, sharing more stories and slagging off half of Crawley. It was getting on. It was about 3:20 when I noticed the time. We were well drunk by this point. Once we had finished the whiskey, we also drank the Pernod, followed by the Campari and all other manner of disgusting booze I had left in the house. Sure, most of them were out of date. We didn't care and drank the house dry. Then Sally turned and said to me, "Shall we go see it?" she said with a hand on my shoulder. "See what?" I replied. "The pyramid, you donut." Under most circumstances, this would have been 100% no, but as inebriated as I was with the company of my best friend, it seemed like a good idea. Facing my fears, I told myself. We both stumbled to our feet, and I found the keys to the back door. I could see the trees from the kitchen door as I opened it. What I had not noticed when Sally and I stepped outside, there was a thick mist upon the ground. "Fuck that, I am off back in," I said as Sally was bringing up my rear, stumbling about with a bottle in her hand, laughing at me. "Oh, come on, it's fine, it looks epic. It's like a horror movie, Night of the Death Pyramid, haha." She stumbled over onto the grass with those words. A patch of fog cleared her way as she landed with a thump. "Come on then, let's go see where you got your first taste of cock." I laughed and helped her up as we both stumbled across the uneven ground of the field behind the farmhouse. The fog seemed to get thicker as we neared the hedge. We found an opening in the branches and squeezed our way through. There in front of us was the muddy mound that had built up against the old stone brick wall that used to run along the field and join up with the farmhouse. Propped up next to it was the jet black pyramid, looking washed out and very underwhelming. There was no fog in this part of the farm, and the trees around the back of the field had covered the sky overhead. Moonlight shone through the tree branches. "Let's sit next to it and finish this," she said, brandishing the half-full bottle in her hand. We both sat on the mud next to the pyramid. We carried on drinking and talking away. After a while, it felt like it didn't even matter where we were. This is where my memories get hazy. All I can remember after this is a penetrating red light. I'm sure I could see Sally naked, with strange writing all over her breasts. Then a flash of some horned figure, red mist, and then another flash. This time Sally again, only blurry and hard to make out. She was saying something I could not understand. It sounded like a record being played backwards. And that's when I saw him again, that old man from the day before. Only this time he was wearing some sort of ceremonial red robe, with gold trimming. He was holding up a cup. A golden cup with encrusted jewels. The cup was full of blood, and he seemed to be drinking from it with more people around him in red robes. Now I am here awake, in this unknown field somewhere in the farmland of Crawley. At least I think that's where I am. I would have guessed I am a few fields over from the farmhouse, though it was really impossible to tell if that was the case. Where is Sally? Chapter 2, Sally Awakens. I woke up with the worst hangover. My jeans round my ankles and my top across on the floor in front of me. What the hell happened last night? The sun was just coming up. It was then I realized I was naked on the floor at the entrance of the pyramid. In the small hollow sat on the trap door looking bottom. I grabbed at my jeans, pulling them back on. It's then I noticed the strange symbols written over my chest. It was in red. I hoped it wasn't blood, but it seemed that way. God, what the hell? I made it over to my top and put it back on, then with some speed headed back to the house. "Michael, Mike!" shouting aloud as I came up to the farmhouse and headed back through the kitchen door that was still ajar from the night before. Michael. He wasn't there. I grabbed my coat and bag from the chair I was sitting on last night, turned and locked the back door, then headed for the front of the farmhouse. I could hear footsteps coming from upstairs. The sounds grew louder as whoever was upstairs had now been alerted to my presence and was homing in on me. I bolted to the front door and ran out of the house into the yard and on to the country road beyond. I could see a car coming, a blue Yaris. Is that Father Dunham's car? With two hands waving, I flagged the car down, screaming. "Help, help! The small blue car slowed to a halt. I didn't feel like there was time to waste. I reached out and grabbed the door handle and hurled myself in. "Sally, what's the earth is going on?" I looked up at the driver. It was Father Douglas Dunham, the priest from the chapel in Crawley. "Please, Father, I will explain. Just please drive now, please." The young priest heeded my cries and drove off. It was at this moment that I was perfectly aligned with the front door of the house, and I saw what looked like a man in red robes in the hallway of the house. He just stood there staring at me as the car drove away and he fell out of view. "Now, Sally, you want to tell me just what is going on and why I'm speeding away from Crawley Farm." He looked like I was to blame. What an arsehole. What seemed in my head that had happened is that I had been the victim of some crazed Satan rape, and he's acting like a dick to me. I don't know, me and Michael were drinking. I woke up naked, with blood on me, and Michael was gone. But Jesus, Father, there was someone in the house. Did they do this to me? Father Dunham looked at me, and he seemed to soften to my ordeal. "Listen, you can come with me to the church. There is no point driving down to Derry. We can ring the local police from there, and it will give you a chance to calm down," he said with more softness in his voice. I calmed down. "Let's do that." I slumped back in the chair in the tiny car inside. The drive back to Crawley seemed to take ages. I was staring blankly out the window with no energy to do anything. We finally arrived at the church. We both stepped out of the car, and I hobbled over to the side entrance of the parish. St. Patrick's Church in the center of Crawley was a modernized building. The only original feature was the spire. Around that modern angler white walls and a mosaic in the center above the entrance. In the mosaic at the front of the church, a man stood with a torch next to a fire, with 3 onlookers. I never had taken the time to know the piece intimately. I find myself looking upon it now thinking, is that Joseph or Moses? Truth be told, I have never been particularly religious. By the time I was 17, I had acquired such a reputation. Sally the slut, they used to call me, said I had slept with the whole village. Not true. Well, not the whole village. But you can imagine with this disposition in a small place on the map, it was a hard thing to shake off. Now look at me about to ring Philip O'Neill, the local police constable, and tell him I think someone raped the omen into me and Michael is missing, with all this red shit all over my tits. Brilliant Sally, the slut fucked by cult. I didn't even know if that is what had happened. Maybe I and Michael did it in the heat of the moment. It wouldn't be the first time he and I have fucked in a drunken stupor. They will think we're back on the Oxycontin again. Back when the whole town thought we were junkies. Not that Crawley was a place where they would have realized there was such a palatable difference between a diamorphine and a semi-synthetic opioid. To be middle class and a drug user in the naughty. Searching the web for big names to dampen the risk we were taking convincing ourselves we knew it all and we were in control when none of us could get off the damn stuff. Not until Michael moved away. "Sally, are you okay? Are you coming in?" Father Dunham was stood with the door ajar with one hand on the door, the other gesturing me to enter. I walked in through a hallway into the office of the building. I sat on the chair facing the desk, as if I was here to discuss some jovial village issues. He picked up the phone on his desk and started dialing. I waited and listened, not quite making out the words. He was on the phone to the police, though, I was sure. "Okay, 20 minutes, that's fine. See you then." He placed the phone down on the receiver and came and sat at the desk facing me. "O'Neill is on his way. He needs to bring a female PC, so he's gone to pick up Catherine. They shouldn't be long," he said. "Great, Catherine Pike, just about the last person I want to see. The village psychopath. One of the groups of girls that tormented me, Michael and Gary, back at school, and one of them that perpetuated the rumor I was the town whore. Do you want to tell me what happened from the beginning, Sally? I know you have never found much solace from the Lord in your life, but it has shaped me to a very good listener." This point I told him the whole story, everything, the blood, the pyramid. I released now. I was too afraid to do anything else. Once I had brought him up to speed, he looked pale and shocked. "Great heavens, I didn't know there was a pyramid at Crawley Farm," he said. Of everything I told him, I was shocked. The only thing he commented on was the pyramid. "I saw one in Garvog Forest. It was the tomb of the Canning family, I believe. And you say all this took place near this pyramid at Crawley Farm?" "Yes. Are you not bothered I might have been raped? Did you not hear what I just said?" I shouted. Sorry, Sally. It's just strange you should mention it, as I was asked not long ago if there was anything like that around here. It was not a week ago." man and a woman came to the church asking if there was such a thing as a black pyramid residing around the village. I said no, but recalled the one at Garvog Forest, and it was at the front of my mind. Sorry. The police will be here soon, sorry. He slumped back in his chair looking sheepish. It's okay. Michael said a man asked him about it last night. Is the man with the woman the same person that Michael was talking to? What did he look like? I started to raise my voice again with a head full of questions. Who? He said with a confused look on his face. The man, damn it, the man with the women asking about the pyramid. Now shouting at him. He was gray-haired, wearing a suit. The woman was black-haired in a red dress, about 40. The man looked older. He was wearing a bowler hat. Holy Grand Arch. Chapter 3, Michael and the Half Moon. I must have wandered for miles that night. I woke up alone in the middle of nowhere. I was near the farm, but too far in the wrong direction. I kept getting sidetracked trying to make it out of the farmland I was in. There were no footpaths, and I was squeezing in and out of hedges and across mudding banks all night. By the time I reached Glensheen Road, too far to walk back, the half moon was just up round the bend. I didn't know what time it was. My phone, I imagined, was still on my bed with my earphones plugged in with my music still playing as I had left it when Sally woke me up yesterday. The sun had risen for a while now. I hoped it was at least 9 o'clock. Keith the barman would be there by now and would let me in. I headed in that direction, and not long after I could see the signpost flapping in the wind, the silhouette of a man, looking out onto city lights with a crescent moon in the sky overhead. A familiar sight from all the nights. I stood outside in the beer garden smoking and looking up at it. When I came up to the doors of the pub, it was open. I walked in. There was a man to the left of me sat with a dog, with half a pint left in his glass watching Sky Sports. Keith was stood behind the bar. What the hell have you been up to, Mikey? Ha, wild night. As he said this, I looked in the mirror on the wall below the TV. He was right, I looked a mess. I was covered in cuts and leaves and bits of mud, as well as the red stain on the back of my head and neck. That had since stopped hurting. I had forgotten was there. There looks like a nasty gash on the back of your head, Mike. Stay there, I will get water and the first aid kit. He turned and ran into the back. I grabbed a stool near the bar and pulled myself up onto it, everything aching as I did this as I stumped onto the seat. Keith came back with a wet bar towel and the first aid box from the back. He handed me the towel. I wiped away the blood. It was a big cut to the back of my head. Keith used what he could out of the box to patch me up. Lots of different shaped plasterer and a bandage wrapped around the top of my head. I looked a complete twat in the mirror as I inspected Keith's handiwork. That's pretty bad, Mike. You probably need stitches. You should get a cab to Derry Hospital and go get it checked out. It stopped bleeding for now, but you could have a concussion. He was okay, was Keith. Worked in bars his whole life and was undoubtedly an alcoholic, red-faced and big-nosed, but a kind man. It will do for now. I will go soon. How's about a Bell's first, Keith? It's been a long night. I peeled my case for a drink. It looks like it, lad. Gone on then, have this one on the house. If anything, it might warm you up. I pulled the glass to my lips. It was then out of my peripheral vision I saw a woman in a red dress walk in behind me. She walked to the left of the bar to a table and stools in the corner and sat down. It then a man appear from my right to get served at the bar. Mr. Crawley, I hoped we would catch up with one another again. I was discussing our little chat with the membership, and we have decided that it was rude of us to assume you would not require some compensation for your part. We are prepared to offer you a considerable cash sum for use of your backfield and the structure on the 20th of May. Would you reconsider my offer if the money was right? He looked at me saying these words like he had no clue what had just happened to me and Sally the night before. I was sure he was something to do with it. I was so mad at the impertinence of the man, I could not control my anger. I will be damned before any of your Satan-peddling lackeys step one foot onto my land. I know you were there last night. What the hell have you done with Sally? With that, the man grabbed me by the arm with immeasurable strength. I looked around for Keith, who was still around the other side of the bar, out of view. Still holding my arm, he grabbed my left shoulder with the other and pulled me close to his face. Listen here, boy. You are messing with powers and ideas you could not possibly comprehend. I suggest you take us up on our offer, then you can go back to wasting your life away on that piss-poor patch of land you call home. But whatever you decide, come May the 20th we will be there, and depending on your hospitality, you may not. With this, Keith appeared back from around the bar. "What's going on?" he said, looking at the man. "Ooh, just a hearty handshake between Mr. Crawley and I. We have just concluded some pressing business." He said this as he loosened his grip on my hand, seizing the opportunity. I grabbed the dram glass from the bar and hurled it into the side of his face with a crack. The man stumbled back with broken glass and whiskey flying in every direction. With that, the woman in the red dress ran past me and headed outside, leaving me stood thinking my next move. I turned to give chase or maybe make my escape, when the man tripped my legs from under me. Now on the floor, he muttered something under his breath and he lunged toward me. All the pub's stools near the bar came shooting across the floor, 2 of them impacting me on the legs and side of my back as I was trying to rise to my feet again. I managed to get up just as he was about to be on me once more. I looked towards the double doors of the pub as they swung open, and there stood that woman in the red dress accompanied by PC O'Neill and PC Pike. "Just what the hell do you think you're doing, Michael?" Catherine Pike said in a full police uniform stood next to her colleague. "Can you step over here, sir?" O'Neill put his hand out and ushered me away from the man with a motioning gesture. Who was this man? I didn't even know his name. "This man invaded my home last night and kidnapped my..." I shouted the words started sounding madder and madder to me as I finished saying them. I can't imagine what they were all thinking. I am a man with a checkered past around these parts and a history of drugs, attacking an old man in public in the middle of the day. I started to realize it didn't look good for me. "Is this true, sir? Can I take your name, sir?" O'Neill reaches in his pocket for his notepad and pen. At the same time, Keith was helping the man and passing him some paper towels for the few cuts on his face that a minute before looked far worse. "I am Nathaniel Tobias. Dr. Nathaniel Tobias, please, I am in considerable pain. Me and my wife were just in here for a quiet drink. I was making small talk with the boy about his farm. He randomly attacked me out of the blue." He spun this line with the woman in the red dress stood beside him, his wife. He looked 30 years her senior, but as it dawned on me what he was saying, I realized to any sane person that would seem to be the case. I can't tell them he had Satan power grip and cast a spell on me. That's what I believe just happened. Was I losing the plot? Was I mad and him an innocent victim? Surely not. This did just happen. Last night happened. He is the leader of a sick cult. I swear it. He wants to perform some sick ritual at my dad's old farm, and they kidnapped Sally. By this point, O'Neill had moved over to me and had hold of my arms. "The boy is mad. I think he's high on something," Dr. Tobias said, pointing at me. I looked back at him with a thunderous glare. I could not believe this man was even a real doctor. O'Neill let go of one of my arms and grabbed his radio off his chest. 2207, we got a live one here, I'm bringing him in. He grabbed my hand again. "Dear Michael, you and Sally the slut been up to your old trick again, haha." Catherine smirked at me as she said this. "Sally Murphy was found by Father Dunham this morning, apparently roaming around naked at your farm. We were on our way there when we stopped in here looking for you. She reported you missing. Have a good night last night, did we?" Catherine belted out like the town gossip. "That enough of that, Kathy." "Right, Dr. Tobias, and you are," O'Neill said, looking at the woman in red. "Linda Tobias, I hope the boy is okay. It is a terrible thing, drug addiction," she said, looking straight at O'Neill. "I trust you and your husband can make it down to the station within the hour to make statements," O'Neill said as he was pulling me out of the pub with the Tobiases starting to follow. "Of course we will head down there right away," Dr. Tobias said, walking behind us. "Right then, let's get you a nice cell to Stu and Michael. It has been a while since you'll sat in one of ours. Maybe you can look at some of your old grafted on the walls." As he said this, he was lowering my head into the back of his police car and slammed the door shut. As he and Catherine got in the front, I saw the odd couple walking across the car park of the Half Moon as the police car drove away. Chapter 4. Priestly things. We sat in that office of St. Patrick's Church for what seemed like a lifetime. It had been well over 2 hours by this point. The police still had not shown. Father Dunham had a troubled expression on his face as he kept sporadically looked out the window every few minutes to see if the police had pulled up to the church. He turned, looked at me, and began to speak. "You know, it's funny how you mentioned the Holy Grand Arch. Father Mohab, at my last parish in Derry, was kicked out of the church because of them," he said, sitting back down from the window. "Why would Freemasons want to get a priest kicked out of the church?" I asked, wondering what he was getting at. Well, strictly speaking, that didn't get him booted out. It was his ramblings about the Holy Grand Arch. He used to be a member. He used to go on and on about how they weren't really conventional Masons, but part of a secret brotherhood. He said, his voice heightened by the clear interest in the subject he spoke of. Satanists? I asked. Not what he described. What was it he used to say? He said the whole of them worshipped. What was it? Something along those lines. Baphomet. That was it. They worshipped the Baphomet. Like the devil, but more ancient, I believe. Yes, he used to ramble on about how there was a hidden Masonic temple near Crawley, how the Holy Grand Arch was a cover for seeking the anti-Grail. His words shocked me, how parts of what I told him were clearly in line with Father Mohab's accounts. Anti-Grail. It's one of the great Bible subtext mysteries. Some people believe in the New Testament they allude that with the existence of the Holy Grail there must be an anti-Grail. It's what worshipping the Baphomet is about, light and dark. Like a spooky yin and yang, I think the anti-Grail is supposed to be metaphorical, just like the nature of the Baphomet. His tone shifted to more serious now. As he spoke, I sense a great deal of knowledge about this queer subject. Why did he know so much about this? Could he be trusted? These are not very many priestly-like things to be saying to me, Father, I said, hopping for an answer lighter in tone. They're not, are they? Suddenly a car pulled up to the church. Father Dunham got up and headed for the door. Moments later, he came back into the room with the wizard from the half moon, the Holy Grand Arch. And a woman in red. Mr. Tobias, Miss Tobias coming in. This way. Have you meet Sally Murphy? He closed the door behind him, and this is when I knew I'd been had. The priest had been toying with me with his little story about Father Mohab. He wanted to gloat with their cunning plan to trap me here. I am afraid your friend will not be joining us, Ms. Murphy. He has been caught up by your local police enforcement. He tittered to himself as his wife stepped close to me. You and Michael put on quite a performance for us last night, she said with a menacing smile. What the hell did you do to us, you bitch? I lunged for her nails first, but Father Dunham has gotten to the back of me and grabbed me tight before I could grasp at her face. I am a fair man, and I don't like keeping people in the dark. Well, only some of the time. So I will tell you what you and Michael experienced. You see, we needed 2 impure souls to offer tribute to our Lord, so that he would grant us protection upon entering the sacred temple. It's one of the many bizarre and wonderful traditions we still adhere to in the Brotherhood of Baphomet. Naturally, we have been inquiring about the pyramid for some time. The Brotherhood was keen to regain access to it. We had been watching the pyramid entrance for some time. Now it was just pure luck we saw you come up to the pyramid. So with some old Bakker's sorcery, I used a small amount of Haitian powder to make you my slaves. He pauses for a moment and took his pocket watch out of his front jacket and gazed at it. Bastard, damn you. I spat at his feet, still trying to break free from Father Dunham's grip. Dear girl, it's only just getting good, let me finish. After that, me, my lovely wife here, and my acolytes, undressed you, anointed your bodies with the blood symbols as is accustomed to the ceremony, and made you and Michael make unnatural love to each other in the eyes of our Lord. This will bring us great luck and protection inside the temple, come the 20th of May. As Dr. Tobias said this, his wife had an expression of glee on her face. The 20th of May is 2 days from now. I needed to find Michael. I had to get away from these maniacs. Thinking fast, I pulled down as hard as I could on Father Dunham's arms. This worked, and his grip loosened enough for me to hurtle forward and be released. Both the Tobiases were quickly upon me as I was struggling to keep my balance. Miss Tobias came flying towards me, her face somehow changed and her eyes glowing a bright yellow. She struck me across the chest, and I fell back against the door as it swung open and left me on the floor just outside of the office. I looked up. I had landed in the hallway. The exit was within view if I could just get back up. I was hurt, though my arm hurt greatly, as well as both my tits. Somehow I made it back to my feet with one hand as they were upon me once more. I stumbled back just in time for Dr. Tobias to miss grabbing me. I noticed the extinguisher next to the exit. I grabbed at the top of it. The hose pulled off, but the rest of it was still stuck to the wall. I pressed down the button and fired it at Miss Tobias's face. She fell back. Thank God it was a CO2 one and not water one, I thought. I pulled at it once more, and finally the whole extinguisher was free from the wall. I hurled it at Dr. Tobias's head and knocked him down into Father Dunham. In the confusion, I tried the door. It was still open. One piece of luck out of a million. I opened it and felled, hearing them shouting behind me. "You didn't lock the door, Dunham, you blubbering idiot. Get after her." I heard the doctor scream. I headed straight up the road into the center of Crawley. Father Dunham was chasing me at some speed. I turned right into the pedestrianized part of the town, and he soon gave up the chase. I stopped near a cafe with some people outside to catch my breath. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Even in Crawley, people would find a disheveled woman being chased by a priest strange. So I guess that's why he gives up so easily. Lucky for me, as I cannot run for shit. Chapter 5. The incarceration of Michael Crawley. I awoke to the sound of the inmate next to my cell banging on the door, shouting, "Let me out, ye pig bastard. I've got skills," he shouted as it echoed around his cell into mine. "Shut up, Mickey, and sleep it off, or I will file more charges. You're already in deep shit." The sound of O'Neill retort to the prisoner, bringing me back into the very real situation I was in. I must have slept for hours. I couldn't tell if it was dark outside. The holding cell I was in did not have any windows, and contrary to what O'Neill charmed to me earlier, none of the graffiti was mine. I don't think I have been in the cell right at the bottom before. The banging from the next cell continued on and off for about another hour. Then my cell door opened. "Michael, you can make a phone call and have a coffee if you have sobered up. Have you got anyone you can let know you're here?" It was O'Neill. I didn't really have anyone to call. In an instant, I decided it would be Sally. Catherine had said she was at the church. But would she still be there? I figure I could make use of the time out of this cell, so I answered. "Yes, I need to make a call." He held the door open and I walked out, the small police station, with only O'Neill and Catherine here most days, just 4 holding cells, a reception and a few office rooms at the back. O'Neill led me to the back and sat me at one of the desks. "There you go. You can use this phone. You press 9 to dial out." He then got up and left me to it, and sat back down at the front desk in the reception area. I sat looking at the phone, wondering where to call, as I didn't have the number for the church. Then it struck me. First I rang Sally's mother's, no answer, then Sally's flat, and then the farmhouse. If she was scared and looking for me, she might have gone back there. "Michael." The sound of her voice filled me with such relief. "Sally, thank God you're okay. What are you doing back at the farm?" The wizard and the bitch in red are in cohorts with Father Dunham. "They're sick, Michael. They are sick people." She was in a panic and mumbling as she spoke. "Sally, I am going to try and get out of here. They might let me go if I promise to go straight back to the farm. They think I am on drugs again. I think I could give O'Neill a sob story and he might let me go." I told her, trying to appear as calm as possible. "God, hurry, Mike. I am hiding in your closet, Mike the Pyramid." Her voice now not even a whisper. "What about it?" "It's the entrance to some sort of temple. They were talking about it at the church. Oh God, just hurry and get back here." I was on edge as she said this to me. I had to find a way back to her and discover the truth of all this. "Coming, just stay hidden. I'm going to get out of here and I'm coming to get you." I tried to be as reassuring as possible. "Hurry." With that, she hung up. I placed the phone back on the receiver and took a look around. I could see Catherine across from me behind the glass window of her office. She was sat on her phone, texting, no doubt to everyone I and Sally had ever known, to tell them all the gossip. It was just then I heard voices. "O'Neill, how nice it is to see you again." It was Dr. Tobias and Father Dunham. "Are you here to make a statement? Where is your wife?" He stood up from his chair. "No, I don't think we will have time for that today. We will just take Michael for now," he said, shifting his tone into a deep and evil sound. "What is this? Are you having me on? Why would I let you do that? That's it, you're under arrest to tell I work this one out." With that, 5 men in red robes filled the room. I was peering over the top of the office divide. The robed men had spears. I quickly ducked back under the desk and forced my body down into the foothold next to the PC tower and the shredder. I heard a scuffle and footsteps coming towards me. Then I saw O'Neill with blood on his shirt. He was running. The spear pinned him to the back wall of the office. He hit the wall face first, and I am sure the spear hit him with enough force that it was well buried in the wall behind his flesh and bone. "Find the farm boy. Find anything they have written down on us, then torch the rest." I lay there very still. I could hear more footsteps, then screaming. "What shall we do with her?" I saw the feet of the robed men. They must have found Catherine. "Take her with us. I may have a use for her, just as impure as the other 2. Put her in the car." "Where's the boy?" Dr. Tobias said. "He has gone. Let's just torch the place and get out of here. He can't have gone far. You 2 help me look." Dunham's voice went dimmer as he said this. I could still hear banging from the cell. Then I heard a loud scream and then the banging stopped. Should I move? Try to stop them. I couldn't do anything. Next, I heard the sound of liquid being poured over everything in the place. Then the strike of a match, then fire. I faintly heard them leave by the front door, with the room quickly becoming full of smoke. What was I to do? I couldn't stay here, but if I leave too soon, I will be discovered. I stayed close to the ground and crawled down to the reception area. Here I had to get up and jump through the flames along with the desk. Not realizing that sort of stunt didn't go down in reality like it did in the movies, I burned my side quite badly, then fell on the ground. I was beginning to choke. I couldn't see and my eyes were streaming as I struggled for air. Chapter 6. Restless Sally. I got off the phone to Michael, still sat in his closet. I couldn't believe I was back in this house alone. I didn't know Michael had been arrested and taken to Crawley police station. I couldn't just sit here, I had to do something. I picked the phone back up and rang the only other number I knew off by heart apart from Michael's and my mother. The Half Moon. It was 20 to 11. I hoped someone was still there. Hello, Half Moon Inn, Keith? It's Sally. What are you doing? Sally, my dear, where have you been? The boss is plenty mad with you, love. True be told, there's no one and I was going to lock up you, okay? Keith, please, if I ever ask you a favor, let this be it. Come and get me in your car. I am at Crawley Farm. Please come get me right now. I said, heartfelt, hoping for some human kindness. Lass, I will be there straight away. You sound like you need help. I ain't the type of man to stand by with what sounds to me like a woman in danger. I will be there in 5. He said, and God bless him. Thank you. I put the phone down, took a deep breath, got up and gathered my things and got out of the closet. I grabbed Michael's phone off the bed that I had been charging. I doubt he would have credit. And 999 is only good around these parts for conjuring. PC dickhead and PC cuntbitch. Still, I felt safer taking it with me. As I walked out of the bedroom, I noticed a crucifix necklace on the chest of drawers. This must have belonged to Michael's dad. If there was ever a time to have one of them on me, it's now, I thought to myself. I grabbed it and put it in my pocket. True to his word, I heard a car horn and Keith had come to my rescue. I ran outside and got in his piece of shit Ford Escort that I couldn't have been happier to see. Right, lass, where we heading? He said, pulling out the farmhouse drive. Police station. Keith, step on it. And thank you for coming for me. I hugged him as he drove off. No worries, we'll have you there in a jiffy. Keith drove the car like a mad down Glenshane Road. We passed the Half Moon in no time at all, a few left and right turns, and we could see the police station. It was in flames. Keith pulled into the drive and gave the brake a hard slam as we approached the building. I jumped out of the car screaming. Michael, Michael. Keith soon followed and ran at the doors and smashed them in with a few quick shoulder barges. The doors flung open and there was Michael. Pass out on the floor, I thought he was dead. The room was full of smoke and well ablaze, and Keith tried to reach him. He managed to grab a leg and pull him closer, once near to me. I grabbed the other leg and we pulled him out onto the parking bay in front of the police station. Keith lay on the ground coughing from the smoke. I had covered my face with my sleeve and was faring better. I jumped over to Michael's limp body, slamming on his chest. I started to give him mouth to mouth, copying what I thought was the correct way to do it, to the beat of Stayin' Alive. I said to myself as I pumped my hands on his chest, now with more rhythm and method, systematically going back and forth, holding his nose and breathing in the air through his mouth. I am sure this is how you're supposed to do it. Come on, Michael, wake up. As I breathed more air into his lungs, the taste of sick filled my mouth. I reached back to see Michael come round, throwing up on the ground and coughing. Thank God, I said as I fell back onto the ground and lay there for a moment to gather myself. Michael sat up, still choking but alive. Do you want to tell me what's going on, lass? Keith said as he offered Michael a bottle of water. Some time passed. As Michael had come round, we both filled Keith in on what had happened, everything up till now. The pyramid, Tobias, the Brotherhood of Baphomet, we laid it all out for him. This is diabolical. We can't have some Looney Tunes cult going around drugging people, Keith said. And murder. O'Neill was still in there and another prisoner. My God, Catherine, they took Catherine, Michael said. Good fuck her, I replaced. Michael looked at me with a scolding expression. I am joking. Come on, I've been through the works tonight, cut me some slack. Made our way to the car and got in. What shall we do now? Drive to Derry? Find some real police to tell our tall tale to? Michael said flippantly. I don't think they would believe you. Now I got a better idea. We're going to have to swing by my place first, mine, for some provisions. Keith said as he pulled away from the police station heading in the direction of his home. Once we got to Keith's place, he got out quickly and ran inside and minutes later returned with a large rucksack. He placed it in the boot of his car and got back in. Right then, Mikey, back to your place. We all need a rest. Then when these maniacs return, we'll have something for them. Mark my words. He pulled the car out and the wheels span as we got back on the main road. We got back to the farm in good time. Keith bought the rucksack into the kitchen and emptied the contents onto the table. 2 double-barrel shotguns, a bunch of ammo, a hammer, and a bag of nails. He set about securing the downstairs. He loaded both shotguns and handed one to Michael. We left him downstairs as I and Michael went into the bedroom at the back of the farmhouse, the one facing the pyramid. We put a chair against the door, the shotgun at the side of the bed that we both collapsed on and fell asleep almost instantly. Chapter 7, Satanist in Your Yard. I awoke around noon. The sun was beaming into the bedroom window. I saw Sally on the bed still fast asleep. I showered and found a change of clothes. I grabbed the shotgun and moved the chair propped up against the bedroom door. I headed downstairs. It's the 20th of May. That twisted cult will be upon us soon by nightfall. I said this to Keith with certainty in my voice. Although I could not be sure they would wait till nightfall, it just seemed to be a very Satanist thing to do, turn up at the fall of night. Lad, what are we to do? I tried ringing out there, no signal, and your landline's dead. I grabbed the phone, no tone. What the hell was going on? I looked at my phone. Keith was right. Emergency calls only. I tried 999, nothing. Damn. I looked towards the door. Sally had taken a similar line to me that morning. She was wearing one of my shirts, still in her muddy jeans with wet hair, but she looked refreshed and ready to take action against the peril we are now in. We need to tool up and barrack the farmhouse if we try to leave Crawley. Could we? What if they find us, run us off the road? She said, growing panicky again. I think you're right. I think the best course of action is to secure the farmhouse, all bear arms. I said, gesturing to the shotgun at my side. The lad's right, you know. The only way to Derry is back, though, Crawley. If they're all coming here to open this temple, as you say, that might be our best chance of escape. We should wait till they're all down there. I will put the car in the garage, and when the coast is clear, we'll make a break for it, Keith said as he turned and started pulling my kitchen cupboard doors off. I and Sally nodded in agreement and took Keith's lead, grabbing the hammer and nails. We spent most part of that afternoon using doors and wood around the house to board up the windows. We put all the large pieces of furniture up against the back and front door of the farmhouse. The only door we left untouched was the door to the garage. Keith brought the car down from the drive and parked it in the garage in preparation for our grand escape. Then we waited. Keith was in the second bedroom at the front of the house on a chair near the window, shotgun at the ready. I was sitting in the main bedroom with Sally. She had found a knife and a baseball bat. She was sat on the bed with them in both hands, looking like she was deciding which was the more worthy weapon. By about 9:30, the sun was going down. Sally had fallen asleep on the bed, and I must have fallen asleep in the chair. I awoke to the sound of car engines and tires rolling along the grass of the backfield. Michael, are you seeing this, lad? Keith shouted from the front of the house. Yes, I see them. I sat up and readjusted the grip on my gun. With that, Sally woke up with the bat still in her hands. Are they here? What's going on? Said she, as I looked through the nets of the window. What I could see was a convoy of luxury cars, Aston Martins, Lamborghinis. It was like a Top Gear set piece. The cars were slowing, crawling onto the field, and parking up. Out came numerous people. 10 minutes had gone by as I was watching this unfold. At this point, I had seen about 60 people make their way down to the trees at the bottom of the field and towards the pyramid. All of them wearing some take on the red robes I had seen Tobias's people wearing at the police station. Only this time they were variations to them, with lots of the men and women having holes in their said robes to expose their sexual parts. Many of the faces I caught glimpses of looked familiar to me. I was almost certain I recognized local news celebrities and politicians. My God, how far up did this cult go? They slowly, one by one, disappeared out of view. Michael, are you seeing this? Keith walked onto the landing and stopped at the top of the stairs. I turned to answer. Yes, I think they're all gone now. This is our chance. We have to make a break for it, I said as I immediately turned back to the window. Grab your stuff, Michael. Sally, you grab this bag. Keep an eye out that window as long as you can. Once I start the car, I will give you a shout and start opening the garage door. Soon as I do that, you two come running, okay? I nodded at Keith in agreement. All right then. Keith turned and headed downstairs. Sally had Keith's rucksack in her hand and her bat in the other. She was now stood in the doorway at the top of the stairs. I was fixed on the backfield through the window. I heard Keith's old escort choke into life as the engine started. Then I heard him shout, "Okay, Mike, Sal, come on." With that, I and Sally fled down the stairs into the hallway and soon upon the garage door that was left ajar. I could see the garage door still only halfway up. When I noticed Keith was not in the driver's seat, the garage door finally opened fully with a crash, and there stood Dr. Tobias and his bitch wife holding Kayeth by the neck with a knife to his throat. "Dear Mr. Crawley, it seems you find yourself in our way once more. Not to matter. My lord is pleased with your torment," he said, pulling the knife closer to Keith's throat. "Him go damn you, or I will blow a hole in your wife's face." I pointed the gun at Linda Tobias, hoping that angle would work and we could all make a break for the car. "Even now you know nothing. The power the Brotherhood could have granted you would have been immeasurable, you fool." With that, Dr. Tobias swiftly pulled the knife across Keith's throat. "Nuo," Sally screamed, but that was quickly drowned out by the sound of me letting them have both barrels. By the time the smoke had cleared, and I had recovered my senses from the recoil of the gun, they were gone, leaving Keith's limp body on the floor bleeding to death. How did I miss that was a clean shot? I looked down to see Sally checking Keith's body. She looked up and shook her head, a tear rolling down her face. "They're toying with us, Sally. We can't let them go through with their diabolical plan. I have seen some crazy things these past few days, if there is any truth to this Brotherhood of Baphomet. Then what is going on underneath that pyramid needs to be stopped." I looked at Sally as she got to her feet. She walked over to the car. The engine was still running. She opened the back door and picked up Keith's shotgun. "I don't care anymore if no one believes us. Let's take as many of them out as we can." She picked up the rucksack full of shotgun shells she had dropped moments before, slugged it on her back, and yielded Keith's shotgun in front of her. We walked out the garage, and down the side of the farmhouse onto the backfield. We made our way over to the parked cars and knelt down behind a dark green Rolls-Royce. I looked toward the trees. I could see an ominous red light shining through the trees in the direction of the pyramid. Then I heard banging coming from the car we had taken cover behind. "What is that?" Sally cried. I stood up and tried the boot of the car. It swung open, and there was Father Dunham tied up at the wrists and ankles with tape across his face. I thought he was one of them. "Shot him, Michael, shot him first." Sally punched the priest in the face before he could rise out of the car. "Sally, chill out, we need to question him." I pulled the tape off the priest's face. "Thank you, Michael. God willing, I am sorry. They made me do it. I had no choice. Please forgive me," he blurted out as he started sobbing. "Listen, Father, whatever you did, and how much I hate you doesn't help me right now. You will face your judgment soon enough, but not by my hand. Now tell me what is going on in that damn temple. Tell me everything you know, damn it." I pushed the gun up to his face, eager to make my case for him to enlighten us. "I told Sally the truth the other day about Father Mohab. It was true. They had him banished from the church and committed and threatened to do the same to me if I didn't help them. They have powerful friends inside the church and the government. They have extended their influence to lots of people in the village and wanted me to keep a watch on the last temple of Baphomet. They plan to perform some sort of satanic ceremony to bring Baphomet into flesh. At least that's what I've deduced. I don't know." "Please, what have I done?" The priest places his head in his bound hands and started sobbing. Then he spoke again. "You can still stop them. You have to destroy the mazer," he said as I started to untie his legs and hands. "The mazer?" I asked. "Longinus's mazer. They most drink a blood sacrifice from the mazer to pay final tribute. It brings the ceremony to a close and is supposed to open a rift into our world for the darkness to enter." As his words sunk in, I started to wonder who they would be sacrificing. This was crazy, but was it any crazier than all the other strange things I and Sally had been subjected to? "Father, do you really believe this will happen?" I asked. "I don't know what to believe. All I know is I have betrayed my trust to God. I will help you. We must stop them. I will be judged by the treble sins I have committed. Let me do something good for once, even if it's the last thing I do," he said with an earnest tone as he was finally free from his bonds. "Let go, Michael. If he tries anything, we'll just shoot him." Saying this, Sally prodded the priest in the back with her gun toward the red light, prompting him to lead the way. As we came upon the trees just before the pyramid, an intense red light like the one from the night before came shining through the hedge and trees. As my eyes snapped back into focus, I could see a pillar of red light shooting high up into the sky, piercing the heavens as the clouds parted around the glowing beam. We emerged from behind the hedge, and was all standing on the mudding bank looked at the pyramid. The hole inside has a red glow to it, now duller than the one we had seen before. And where the trapdoor design used to be there now was a thick black stone staircase leading down. We slowly descended into the temple. Chapter 8. The Temple of Baphomet. I walked slowly down the stairs, my gun still pressed up against the back of Father Dunham, Michael just behind me aiming his shotgun over my head. We reached the end of the staircase, which revealed a grand chapel. It was a large room with black onyx marble walls, with years of dust covering everything. Open flame torches were lit along the pillars on either side of the sizable room, all leading up to a big stone slab, where a woman lay bound with chains on her hands and feet. I could not see anyone else. I stepped forward as Father Dunham slipped and fell in front of me. As he hit the flood, a thick dark red color snapped into focus on the floor against the black and dusty walls that surrounded us. It was blood, everywhere. Then I noticed a severed finger and arm, a leg, somebody's head. Ag. A blood-curdling scream echoed around the room, drawing my attention to another opening to the left of the stone slab. I saw one of the women in red robes get up and run away down the tunnel-like entrance. As we approached the stone slab at the top of the room, I could see more red-robed bodies and extremities lying on the floor in a pool of blood. I looked back at Michael, who was trying to help Father Dunham up as he slipped about in the blood on the floor. These people had been eviscerated. I approached the naked women chained to the stone slab, shotgun still well gripped and at the ready. It was Catherine. She was dead. A dagger lay next to her pale, naked body. She had been pierced multiple times. I could hear a noise. It was someone sobbing. I looked to my left. I walked down the stone pews. Someone was there. It was Dr. Tobias. He was sat sobbing with the body of his decapitated wife in his hands. I didn't think it was real. Not that real. Why, oh God, why? He said, shaking his wife's headless body. What the hell have you done? I said. He was holding something in his other hand, an old leather-bound book with blood-stained pages. Give me that now, or I will send you to join her, I said, pointing the gun at his head. He passed me the book. I slung it under my arm, still aiming my gun at his head. Please take the shot. End this for me. It's too much to bear. Michael had gone over to the slab and noticed Catherine. Father Dunham came up behind me. I turned and passed him the book. Here, look at this. Can you read it? It's Aramaic, he said. Can you read it? I hit him with the barrel of the gun on the head, still mad from his deception. Yes, but it will take some time. I don't know what I am even looking for, he said as he started to rifle through the pages. I looked at Michael as he stood over Catherine on the stone slab. He turned toward me. As he did, he kicked something across the floor. It was a golden cup with jewels around it. It was quite wide, more of a bowl than a cup. It slid around in the blood on the floor. That the pissing mazer, I said, looking at Father Dunham. God, it is, Dunham said as Michael fished it off the floor. During this lapse of concentration, Dr. Tobias has got to his feet and was fleeing down the tunnel passageway at the end of the chapel-like room. Did they actually raise something? What if it's down there? Michael said. Where could that lead to? I asked. There's nothing but woods in that direction for a few miles. I imagine it would come out into them if it leads anywhere at all, Michael replied. Aggie, another scream from the tunnel. I hoped it was Dr. Tobias getting his comeuppance. Not go that way. Let's get back to the car and get the hell out of here, I said, turning back in the direction of the staircase. Fuck Sally. Bad choice of words. Michael belted as he and Father Dunham followed, slipping and sliding on the floor that at this point was thick with blood. We made it back to the top of the temple and out the pyramid entrance. We ran back into the field. There were a few injured Brotherhood members hobbling about outside, some of them trying to get back in their cars and some just bleeding out. None of them seemed very interested in what we were doing anymore. Still running, I looked back at Michael holding his shotgun in one hand and the mazer cup in the other. I shouted to him. What now? The car. Head for Keith's car. We made it back to the garage. It was full of smoke. The car had still been running all this time. No one had switched off the ignition. I took a deep breath, and I ran in, feeling my way to the passenger seat of the car. Michael had found the driver's side, and soon after Father Dunham jumped in the back. Michael hit the gas, and we drove out the garage and out of the farmhouse, drive on to Glenshane Road. I looked around at Father Dunham. And just behind him out the back window was when I saw it, winged black and loathsome, silhouetted by the moonlight. This deprived goat-horned abomination that was so vile you could only catch glimpses of what the entirety of its foul manifestation looked like. I tried to hold my gaze on it as it swept through the air with bat-like wings, but its shape and form seemed to blur into the darkness that surrounded it. I felt I would go mad to try and see this thing more than a short burst at a time. I looked away. "What the fuck is that?" Michaels shouted as he caught the beast in the rearview mirror. I turned to Father Dunham. "The book, Father, is there anything in the book? How do we get rid of it?" I pointed frantically at him to open the book. "I don't know, I am looking." Father Dunham started turning the pages like a man mad, muttering his makeshift translation, trying to find anything that could help us. "Sally, I think it's following us," Michael said, as he pushed the car way beyond its limits with an early gear change. I saw it again in the sky around us for a second, then there was a terrible crash on the side of the car. I hit my head against the window. We were still on the road. Michael managed to regain control. In this fleeting moment, I looked back at Father Dunham again. As I did, I could almost see the creature's face, partly obscured by the back of Father Dunham's head. His hair turned white instantly as he must have peered into the beast's eyes. Then another crash. The car wobbled in between lanes. "Father, the book, damn you, the book!" Michael screams as he put his foot back down and the car spun in and out of his grip. The priest was still with us. He thumbed more pages of the book as we were doing at least 80 miles per hour. He came to a page with an illustration. "Look there, the mazer. It's the mazer." The unholy cup still lay on Michael's lap as Father Dunham began to read the page. "Yea, this is it. Yes, the power of the Dark Lord may be reversed if Longinus's mazer is nullified in holy water by an anointed priest of the cloth," he said. "That what it says?" I shouted over the sound of the gunning engine. "Well, it's not written in the fecking Queen's English, but I am gathering that's the gist of it. Cut me some fucking slack here," he snapped. "Can you do it? Can you nullify the cup? Do you even still have faith?" I said softer, hoping he had the answers. "I just come face to face with the devil. I have all the faith you need, just get me to a body of water. I will have to submerge the mazer and pray," he said with conviction. "Okay, Michael, we need a pond," he shouted. "The river, Sally, Fowen River," he said. I looked around. The thing had stopped following us for now, it seemed, but for how long? The car slowed as Michael turned off down Ardmore Road. There was a bridge crossing the river up ahead. It was our only chance. Chapter 9. The Nullification of the Anti-Grail. I pulled up just next to the small stone bridge. I prized the shotgun that was jammed beside the chair. Small luck we had that the thing had not gone off when we were attacked. I opened the door and picked the mazer up with the other hand. Sally and Father Dunham had already got out the car and were running toward the riverbank. I got to my feet and chased after them. There was a small tree next to the bank on a bend in the river. I ran past the tree and made it to the water. Quickly, Michael passed me the mazer. Father Dunham said with his arms out to catch it. As I was about to throw him the unholy cup, I could see car lights just past the bridge. It was a yellow Lamborghini. It spins off the road at some speed and was aiming right for us. Father Dunham ran back away from the river and got as far as the small tree near the bank. As the yellow sports car plowed into him, pinning him against the tree, the priest coughed and sputtered and blood poured from his mouth. The airbag had gone off in the car. Sally was laying on the floor next to it as she fell, trying to move out of harm's way. The car door opened as I saw Dr. Tobias run out onto the bank and make a beeline for Sally. He was brandishing the same knife he had slit Keith's throat with. He was not, as I realized, as stunned and amazement at the supernatural events in the temple, and his mourning for his wife had all been a front. And he was still just as ever, he was a puppet of Satan. He grabbed Sally by the hair and pulled her back up against him with the knife at her throat. "Not one more step, Mr. Crawley. If you remember what happened to your friend, you know I am not bluffing," he said as I froze on the spot so as not to provoke him. "Now let me make this plain and simple for you. I will let your fat whore of a friend go if you pass me the mazer," he shouted as he wrenched Sally's head back some more and pushed down on the knife, leaving a small cut. "Her go, or I will dunk it," I said, holding the mazer over the river edge, our glazes locked. "Dear boy, that would only work if you have faith. And both you and this fat cunt slut are slaves to Baphomet. Your scum and flesh please my lord as does your suffering. Having doing what you have done, my child, you are forsaken by a God you don't even believe in." He smiled as he said this. Was he right? The only thing I believed in for a long time was drugs. I had no predisposition for faith or God. Only now, with my new obtained knowledge for absolute evil, was I even open to the existence of something light and good. I didn't think it was enough to even try and dunk the mazer myself. I wasn't sure Father Dunham would have had sufficient faith to accomplish this, and he was a man of many years with the church. What hope would I have of conjuring up faith in an instant? "Give him it, Michael," Sally screamed. "Quite you." Dr. Tobias jarred her head back again. "What's it going to be, Michael, the mazer or your friend?" He looked about ready to let Sally have it, just like he had done away with Keith. I had to do something. "Okay, I will walk halfway over there and place it on the floor, and then I will step away." I took a few steps forward and placed the mazer on the grass in front of him. "Good." Dr. Tobias let go of Sally and stepped to the left of her and picked up the shotgun she had dropped. I looked at my shotgun on the floor near the river bank, but he was too quick for me and was aiming at us before I could even make a move. He kicked Sally in the side, and she fell to the ground again. "You get up and bring the mazer to me, or I will give you another hole for you to sell." He spat at her as he was giving this command. Sally walked up to the mazer on the floor and picked it up. "Bring it to me, girl." Dr. Tobias brandished the gun and waved it around at her. I could see her hair rustling as the wind picked up. I looked up at the tree that still had Father Dunham's body pinned to it. And there, in the top branches of the trees, I saw the tips of the horns of the beast, a pair of yellow eyes peering through at us. A long, discolored claw swiped down at Dr. Tobias just as Sally was past him. He mazer. "Agger, not me. No, not me." He screamed as the whole top half of the beast emerged from between the largest branches of the tree. It grabbed Tobias's head with its massive talon-like fingers and twisted his head clean off. I dived for the shotgun as Sally retrieved the mazer out of Dr. Tobias's decapitated body. We ran toward the bridge, and the beast swirled back into the tree. With the head of the doctor still in its grip, it was hard to look at, and its shifting darkness made it hard to make out the nature of its evil aesthetic. I just remember the yellow eyes as they locked back onto me. I saw it move from the tree with an incredible speed. I caught sight of Sally jumping out the way and falling near the river bank with the mazer still in her hand as I come face to face with the creature. It had me locked in its gruesome hands, its horns to the left and right of my face. It was holding me against the stone bridge. It felt like it was trying to crush me against the stones. The pain was unbearable. Then it stopped. I fell to the ground hard as it let go of me. I lay slumped up against the side of the bridge. I tried to get up, but I couldn't feel my legs or move them. I think the foul calamity had crushed my spine. I couldn't move. All I could do was watch as the endless darkness that attacked me turned away from me and fix its glaze on Sally as it moved away from me and in the direction of Sally. Chapter 9, Sally of Nazareth, Michael. I screamed as I saw Michael's limp body hit the ground beside the bridge. Tears were streaming down my face. But this outward concern vanished in an instant as I saw that the beast's eyes fixed on me. I didn't know what to do. I ran towards the crashed car, hoping Father Dunham may be clinging on with some parting advice to give me. I knew from the sight of his body still pinned up against the tree this was folly. The beast made a mighty leap from the bridge to the yellow sports car and landed on the roof of the car next to the tree. It let out another one of them devilish-sounding roars. So powerful it pushed me right back near the bank of the river. Why hasn't it pounced yet? I was sure by now it would have been upon me, and I would have been dead. But it was swaying between the tree and the car, sniffing at the priest's dead remains and glancing back up at me. It's then I realized why. The mazer I held in my hand. I was so close to the river I could jump in. But I needed someone of faith for that to have any effect. As I paused for thought, the beast seemed to grow impatient and started posing, as if it was ready to begin its lunge and attack. As its grotesque wings started to flap as it stepped off the car onto the grass by the river, I reached my hand into my pockets, with one last hope of finding maybe Michael's phone to call for help, even though I give very little hope of outrunning this abomination. Nothing in the right pocket, damn. And the left, no phone. Where did I leave it? There was something in my left pocket, however. I reached my hand back out to see what I had discovered. It was that small crucifix necklace I had taken from Michael's room yesterday. The beast began to charge at me and build up speed. I had seconds left before it would be too late. With my back to the river, I tightened my grip on the mazer, and in the other hand, I closed my fist over the small statue of Jesus on the cross. Then I let myself go and fell backwards first into the river, as I felt the splash all around me. I saw the shadow of the beast right above me. I closed my eyes thinking drowning might be the better fate. I could feel myself floating back to the surface. As my face popped above the water, I dare not open my eyes. When I did, the beast was gone. I pulled my feet down to the river bed and was stood up now just above waist height. The river sloshed around me as I looked around for some clue as to what happened to my foul pursuer. Nothing, just the remains of the carnage that had ensued moment before. Michael, still near the bridge, Tobias's body on the floor, and Father Dunham still dead against the tree. I looked at the mazer in my right hand. The golden cup has turned into wood. It now looked like just a humble wooden bowl. I tapped it with my other hand to see if this really was the case. Did it work? Did I nullify the mazer in the eyes of God? I looked up again, this time to the horizon. In the darkness, I could see blue lights flashing in the distance. The police were on their way. And here I was stood with all this chaos around me. I ran along the banks of the river until I reached the bridge. I jumped out at the side Michael was lying. River water splashed all over as I ran over to him. "Michael, are you okay?" I kneeled down beside him and lifted his head up. As I looked at him, river water was dripping off me onto his face. "Michael, please say something." I held him, soaking wet. I started to feel the cold. It's then he finally opened his eyes. "Sally, where has it gone?" he said as he cleared his throat. "I don't know. I jumped in the river and it disappears. The mazer, Michael." The mazer turned to wood. I showed him the now wooden mazer. "That it? Is that what Dunham was on about?" "Sally, listen to me. I can hear sirens. The police are coming. They will probably try to blame this on me and you. I can't move my legs. You need to get out of here. Who knows, the Brotherhood may have police on their side. You need to go. Take Keith's car," he said, pointing over to the red Escort that was still parked just past the bridge. "I can't leave you. Where will I go? Who will I tell?" I started to cry again. "Derry, go to Derry. Book a room, the Lona Inn. I know the number because Gary used to work there." "Then what?" I said, wiping my tears away. "They will have to take me to the hospital. I will ring you at the hotel. I will let you know I am okay. Don't let anyone else know where you are. And the book." "The book?" I looked confused at him. After all that had happened, I forgot about the bound book we had found in the temple at the farm. "It's still in the car. Take it with you. Now go, Sally, go. You're running out of time." I turned and walked towards the car. I could hear the sirens more clearly now. A few more minutes, and they would be in plain sight. I ran over to the car. I looked around me for a second. I ran and picked up the shotguns and placed them in the boot of the car. I got in and looked on the floor to check the book was still there. It was on the floor behind the passenger's seat. I placed the mazer down next to me. Then I put the crucifix around my neck, hoping it would provide some sort of protection in case that beast was still around. The keys were still in the ignition. As I started the car up and floored it down Ardmore Road in the direction of the hotel Michael had mentioned. Chapter 10. Miraculous Healing. I lay in the bed of Western Health and Social Care. At first, I was puzzled as to why I was here. Imagining the injuries I had sustained would have meant me having to fly off to some specialist unit. I wasn't even in intensive care when I awoke. Surely this wasn't the case. I just had my fucking spine crushed by the spawn of Satan. No one even seemed to care. There was an armed policeman at the front of the small room I was in, and I had been handcuffed to the bed. I started to worry about Sally. Did she get away? Did she go to the Yona Inn like I say? Would I even get a phone call this time? I doubt it. I don't think they give much thought into maintaining the rights of mass murderers. Let's face it, that's what they will think I am. All those bodies in the temple under the pyramid at the farm, Keith's body in my garage, Father Dunham and Dr. Tobias, his wife O'Neill. That bloke banging the cell wall next to me was still in that cell when they torched the police station and Catherine. This would all come back on me, and even Sally if they still know she was with me. Then I looked down to check what was left of my broken body. I don't know what I expected to see. The only evidence of my skirmish with the supernatural was a few cuts and bruises. Was that it? I had felt like that thing had snapped me in two. I moved my toes around like nothing had happened. This confirmed that I was a lot less worse off than I had thought. How could this be? As I was pondering the likelihood of me coming out of this all as unscathed as I appear to be, I saw the policeman keeping guard was talking to someone. There were hushed voices. The two men walked into the room, followed quickly by none other than Miss Tobias. "You! It can't be. I saw the doctor crying over your body." I tried to sit up as she turned to the two men. clearly looking like her security, and began to speak. "You two wait outside. Make sure no one disturbs us," she commanded as they both took their leave. "I am afraid you are mistaking, Mr. Crawley. That would have been one of the young interns in our little order that my husband was fucking at the time. I feel you have overestimated the doctor's role in the Brotherhood. He was merely a pawn in our plan." She was now dressed like a businesswoman with a short skirt and jacket, and a red top underneath. She moved closer to me. "Not another step, Satan whore. Damn the doctor and damn you and your cult." I tried to move, half a mind to try and find something to throw at her, but it was no good. I couldn't move. "Fuck you. If you're going to kill me, I've done with it. At least we stopped you. We did, me and Sally. We defeated your demon lord," I said, still trying to get off the bed with no luck. "Oh, please, Michael, you overestimate your triumph. The good doctor was brought into the Brotherhood by me. Upon joining the Brotherhood, you must sign away your monetary assists. Upon his death, we gained all his wealth and property. As for you stopping us, haha, you stopped nothing. The ceremony was completed," she said as she smiled at me and sent me into a rage. "That's not true. We nullified the mazer. We stopped the Baphomet," he snapped as she burst out laughing. "Sweet summer child, you did drain Longinus's mazer of its dark power. A parlor trick that anyone with the smallest shred of faith can pull off. How else would anyone get rid of demons? Yes, the creature you had such a hard time dealing with was not the Dark Lord Michael, but one of his numerous satellites. A side effect of the ceremony is sometimes these things manifest themselves in the flesh. The Lord of Dark and Light has no interest in becoming flesh in this world. His will is carried out by man. We offer sacrifices to keep our power on earth. Everything that happened last night went according to plan." She grinned again with that evil smile. She was clearly quite beautiful. "This got me thinking, is that part of the deal when you sell your soul? So you wanted Dr. Tobias to die and all those people to die? And you? But I saw you. You were there." "Was I?" She laughed again. "You see, Michael, we have known about you for a long time. Every 4 years we have to pay tribute to our God in the temple. Do you not remember? Conveniently be out of the way around May time. Surely you must." As she said these words, memories flooded my mind as I remember Sally on a warm day sometime in May as teenagers, excited that I was allowed to stay the night. And then my grandparents' house when they were still alive when I was much younger around that time. Could she be right? As this be going on under my nose the whole time? If that's that case, then what of my father? "Yes, Michael, there was a reason for your father scaling back the farm. He agreed to let us use the temple, as you should have done." She took glee in telling me this, as now she had sat right next to me and placed a hand on my leg, slowly moving toward my cock. A mocking and sick gesture only a sick and twisted person would even think to muster at a time like this. "That was until the last time we used the temple, when we convinced him to join us. You saw what happened tonight. I think you can guess the rest." She said this as she was grabbing hard on my crotch, digging her nails in as she pulled out a dagger with the other hand, the same style as the one Dr. Tobias had used to finish off Keith and hold Sally hostage. "Now, Michael, there is one loose end I would like you to help me with, the mazer, that your friend blessed. We're going to need it back. Tell me, where is she?" She said as I lay there helpless. I still could not move from the bed, as if some unknown force was keeping me in place. I could not believe what this woman had just told me. My old man, a Satanist. And before that, some sort of lackey Renfield to this bunch of cunts. I waited for the dagger to come crashing down into my chest. I must have closed my eyes. Then I hear a loud alarm going off. It was the hospital fire alarm. The sprinklers above us came on and drenched the room. As this happened, I felt a momentary lapse in Miss Tobias's hold on me. I could move again without a thought. I socked her in the side of the face, knocking the dagger out of her hand. I got to my feet as she scrambled around on the floor trying to retrieve her dagger. She picked it back up and turned back to me, with a gesture of her hand out in front of herself. She whispered something demonic that pushed me back onto the bed with force. Then the door opened, and in ran Sally. Miss Tobias turned to face her, but before she could act, Sally handed her off in the face. With her hand still grabbing at her face, she pushed her into the room as she moved. I could see smoke coming from Sally's hand that lay upon Miss Tobias's head. Miss Tobias fell to the floor, revealing Sally's burnt hand mark across her face. A large man, another priest, was with Sally and had seemed to have taken out the guards. He had a crucifix out and was pointing it at Miss Tobias on the floor. Sally came over to me and removed the backpack she was wearing and produced some bolt croppers. She broke me free of the handcuffs. "Quickly, Michael, we have to go. Can you move yet?" She said as she pulled me to my feet. "What do you mean yet? You saw what happened?" I said, wanting an answer for my speedy recovery. "There is no time, we need to go now. The Brotherhood, they're everywhere." She turned to the large man as he came over to help. We headed for the hallway and made our way out of the hospital. Keith's car was parked outside. We got in and Sally drove off. "Who are you?" I turned to the large Indian man in priest's attire in the back of the car. "I am Father Mohab, pleased to meet you, sir," he said. I turned to Sally. "What's going on?" "Didn't go to the hotel, Michael. I remember what Dunham said, so I looked Father Mohab up. I told him what had happened. He said he could help." She filled me in on what she had been doing since we last parted. I turned to Father Mohab as he gave his side to all this. "A damn cult, they came to me offering to join them. I was visiting my friend at the Garvog Free Presbyterian Church, Sister Mary. She was sweet and I knew her for many years. I was walking with her in Garvog Forest when I came across that woman. It was twilight as we were heading back to the church. I was going to drive back to Londonderry when we passed Canning Tomb and saw their devil cult defacing the tomb with what looked like blood. They spotted us, and their red-robed lackeys grabbed Sister Mary." He didn't seem to draw breath as he told us this story, like he had said it many times before on deaf ears. "They beat me to the ground, told me if I would join them they would let Sister Mary go. I refused." Tears started to pour from the priest's face. "They killed her, they kill her, stabbed her as she lay up against the tomb, and it was my fault." His head slumped down into his chest. "How did you get away?" I asked. "Once they had killed Mary, I agreed to join them. I signed away my life in blood on the parchment that Whore Linda made me sign. I found out Mary had been keeping Longinus's mazer at the parish. I looked to retrieve it, but it was too late. They ransacked the place. That's why that devil slut killed her." Strong words coming from a priest, but understandable given everything that has happened. I got back to Londonderry and called the police. I told my church and anyone that would listen to me. No one would believe me. I even set up a Facebook page. No one would help me. Everyone thought I was mad. The people told me that Sister Mary had been dead for 3 years. I could not believe it. Listening to what Father Mohab had been through mirrored similar events I and Sally had. What the hell were we dealing with if that creature was Baphomet? I couldn't imagine what the real deal looks like. About a month after all this had happened, I told the whole thing to Father Dunham one night when we were alone at the church. The next day I am carted of to the loony bin. He said, "Damn that Dunham, he must have been working for them from the beginning, damn his lies." "That's where I found him, at Grantia Hospital," Sally said as she was changing gear as she took the next turn. "How the hell did you get him out of a mental hospital?" I said, holding on for dear life as Sally drove like a taxi driver. I guess no one felt like arguing with me that in the shotgun I was pointing at them. She told me as the car passed the signs for Limavady. Christ, how fast was she going? "I went home first, Michael. Before finding Father Mohab, I went home." She took her eyes off the road for a second and looked at me with a tear rolling down her eyes. "What is it?" I asked. "She died, Michael. My mother is dead. They got her." 11. The ancient manuscript. I pulled up to the Drummond Hotel. I looked at Michael. The cuts from his face had all but gone. I noticed that from the time when we rescued him from the hospital to now, he looked remarkably well. How could this be? I saw what that thing did to him. Then I remembered my hand on Miss Tobias's face, the heat I could feel as my hand connected with her. It didn't hurt. I decided to put this to the back of my mind for now. "What good is this, Sally? I don't have any money, do you?" Michael turned to ask Father Mohab. "I have just been broken out of a mental hospital, you infatuated twit. Of course I don't have any money," he said in a snap. I laughed. I couldn't help at the absurdity of everything. Then I reached for the glove box. "Get in. Look, it's Keith's wallet and 20 Marlboro," I declared as Michael's hand shot past me and grabbed the fags. "God bless you, Keith, you told me you quit." Michael chanted as he opened the packet. I shot him a look of contempt as we all got out of the car, with him lighting a cigarette. "Do you think that's a good idea?" Still looking at him like shit, he said, puffing away. "Do you not think there was something miraculous about how you healed so fast, like God wanted you to live, and now you're smoking a fucking fag?" I snapped at him. "That what you think happened?" "Well, if that's the case, I am sure Jesus wanted me to smoke these too as he guided your hand to find them." He carried on smoking. Guys, we need to focus." Father Mohab said as he was counting the notes in Keith's wallet. There is 340 pounds here. We have enough for a room. Why don't we get off the street? The police or the Brotherhood could be watching," he said as he placed a hand out to encourage us to go inside. I stood at the front desk with my regatta coat, thick leggings and hiking boots and my backpack, looking like a fat middle-aged Lara Croft, with Michael in a hospital gown and an Indian priest behind me. "May I help you, miss?" "Miss Corner, I would like a room, please. I would like to pay cash." I gave my fake name and saw the look of confusion the women behind the reception desk gave me. I had to say something to diffuse the crazy look we were now collectively supporting. I leant over to her and whispered, "We're into role play, we like to party," I said as I pointed to Michael and Mohab, both of them giving me a dirty look as the receptionist turned away and brought back a room key. "That's just 91 pounds if you will sign here and here." I paid and got the key. We all turned and walked to the room. Soon as we were inside, I grabbed a chair and put it up against the door. Michael had sat down on the bed and Father Mohab was looking out the window. I took my backpack off. I had to leave the gun in the boot of the car. Truth be told, I was scared of the thing and felt it didn't help us. I pulled out the wooden mazer and the bound book from the temple. The thing was old and dusty, still stained with blood. Father Mohab came over to me. "I should read this. There could be more information that could help us." He took the book from me and thumbed the pages. "Look," I asked. "It's hard to read. There are at least 4 different dialects. They're written on top of each other, the Aramaic the most recent. There are much older text underneath. I could really use a laptop for reference. It would speed things up." Father Mohab said. Michael picked out another cigarette and placed it in his mouth and lit it. "I will see what I can find. Keep reading it." He got up and left the room. About half an hour later he returned, now wearing trainers and black trousers, with his hospital gown tucked inside them. "Will a phone do?" Michael asked as he passed it to Father Mohab. "Yes, that will help." As the priest took it from Michael's hand, he turned to me with a smug look on his face, the sort of look he gave me when we were teenagers out screwing people over for stuff to sell for drugs. "I don't want to know, don't tell me," I told him. "Staff room," he said with a smile. I said I didn't want to know. We both sat there for hours as Father Mohab looked through the ancient text. Then as the sun was going down, he found something. "This is interesting. It speaks of the blasphemous intent of Baphomet's followers, how the temples they built to him should mock holy structures." He looked back down and carried on reading. I and Michael lay on the bed as Mohab was at work with the book and must have fallen asleep. "I have it." Mohab shouted, "I have it." "What do you have?" I asked. "This passage is about the ceremony it seemed they were conducting. The ritual is taking a long time to do. This past few days we have been witness to only the beginning of it. They need a place of light to sacrifice as well as the dark. That's why they are both pyramid-shaped," he shouted. "What it's?" Michael charmed back. "The Canning Mausoleum, the tomb they killed Sister Mary at, that was the place of light. And the temple at your farm seemed to have been built in its likeness to mock God and eternal rest." "Canning tomb is a pyramid?" I asked. "You have lived here your whole life and you have never been to Garvog Forest." He looked at me as if I was an idiot. I knew Father Mohab was well in his intent. I feel bad for liking Father Dunham more even though here was evil. "Wait, see, there is more about what they had to do to complete the Dark Tribute. It's every 4 years and coincides with the Abbaf celebrations. These last few nights gave them dominion over you. Michael and anyone else involved leading up to the ceremony, anyone who has been in contact with the pyramid, are subject to their dark magic. That's why they can use their powers on you and me," he said as he turned the blood-stained page. "But there is a way to reverse this, and it seems you have managed one part of this already. You need the satanic artifact that was used for the ceremony, and it needs to be blessed in holy water," he said, pointing to the wooden cup next to me. "The mazer, what do we do with it?" "We need to baptize you with it, at the place of light the other side to Baphomet darkness. We need to get to Garvog Forest, we need to do it there. We need to get to the pyramid tomb." I didn't know what to believe, light and dark. God, the devil, was any of this really? Was I going mad? All I know is since I fell into that river, I healed Michael with the water from my brow. I burned that bitch's face with my hand. They killed my mother. What happens if we do this, Father? Do they all burn into flames? I asked. I am afraid not. It will just take away their power. Anyone who is linked to this blood offering under their dark haze will be freed. He closed the book. Does that mean that they can't hold us down or make us go flying with their minds? Michael bleated. Yes, they will have no will over you, Mohab replied. It will send that beast they conjured back to whence it came to, he added. You mean that thing is still out there? My face turned pale as it dawned on me the creature was still at large. I turned to Michael. It's all we can hope for, Michael. If we stop this, we might have a chance of killing her. We cannot let that fucking ghoul roam Ireland killing everyone, and that Tobias woman killed my mother and Kayeth and God knows how many other people. The shotgun is still in the car and the bag with the ammo, I told him. We have to try. As Michael replied, I grabbed the mazer and the book and slung them back in the bag. I tucked my coat off, took my first lay off and handed it to Michael. Here, put this over the gown. Then I put my coat back on and grabbed everything we needed. I emptied the shampoo bottles and filled them with water and put them in the bag. There was no one about as we left the hotel. I left the key on the desk. It was completely dark now as we headed for the car. I headed to the boot of the car and pulled out the gun and the bag, then shut it. I couldn't believe it had come to this, going on a suicide mission to lift a curse so I could commit murder. The police wouldn't believe us. Our only choice was to fight back. Chapter 12. The Pyramid of Light. We didn't get very far in the car. As it became apparent there were police stops in place along all the main roads. We ditched the car in a field and headed south on foot through the countryside. It took us a long time to make our way to Garvog Forest. By now the sun was beaming down on our backs. It was slow progress, as we stayed low and cautious through the fields. It had taken us all day, and Sally was slowing down. Do you want me to take to bag for a while? I didn't wait for a reply, as I relieved her of the bag. Father Mohab was just ahead of us as we traversed the open countryside. He had pulled out a small Bible and was reading aloud some passages. You think that will help? I asked him. You still have no faith after all of this, boy, he said as he looked my way. Take your friend Sally. She found light in the darkness. She gave herself unto the Lord, and he offered her protection and granted her gifts. As he said this, I looked back at Sally. She was almost smiling as she walked behind us. I started thinking about what happened. Was it true? Did she perform some sort of miracle? Sally Teresa, Sally the saint. They say that God works in mysterious ways. I think I realized the way she was almost grinning. A cock-hungry ex-drug addict current pisshead been chosen by God. I was sure she found all of this highly amusing. I wasn't so convinced, really. I wish I could have had a similar bout of faith coursing through me. The truth is I feel as agnostic now as always. You really think that's what happened? I asked as I caught up to Father Mohab and came alongside. I don't think, Michael, I have faith, he said. It's there, that's at the forest. Sally shouted from behind us. We first caught sight of the edge of the forest as the sun was going down. As we approached the first line of trees, the sun was almost completely gone. It's then I saw a dark shadow in the sky. It was the creature. It was far away, though, sailing through the night sky. Quickly get amongst the trees before it spots us. Father Mohab shouted as we hurried into the thick wood. We made our way onto the footpath. If we follow this path, it will head to the tomb. Father Mohab led the way with me and Sally following. Every now and again, I could hear the soaring sound of the winged beast flying overhead, and then fade into the distance. We carried on down the path, and that's when I noticed the torches up the head. The pyramid-shaped tomb was illuminated through the trees. As we all slipped off the path into the wood, we all got down low and slowly moved toward that part of the forest. It was the Brotherhood for sure. We got as close as we dare, hidden behind one of the large trees behind the clearing where the stone pyramid tomb lay. I could see a fire blazing next to the tomb. There were at least 10 people I could see. Only instead of the red robes, they were all naked with red glyphics written in blood all over their bodies. Just like what Sally had on her breast the night this all started. I saw Linda Tobias. She stood in the middle of the gathering. She was complete naked, covered in these strange symbols head to toe. The only thing not covered in blood was her thick bush of pubic hair. My gaze went past her as I saw what the rest of the congregation was doing. They were having some sort of mass orgy. There were men and women positioned all around her, some fellating each other and others in full coitus. I looked at Sally and whispered, "Fuck this, I should have joined them." "Michael," she shot me that look again as I smiled back at her. "Joking," I said. She did not smile back. "Ideas, Father. We need to be touching the tomb. I can't be sure, but it must be the way of it. That's how they killed Sister Mary." He pointed to the side of the pyramid-shaped tomb. I looked, then my eyes were pulled back to the fire. The orgy seemed to be reaching a fever pitch as the moans and groans of the brotherhood became louder. I saw Linda Tobias, still dancing in the center as she turned back to the fire. She squatted down in front of it using her fingers to part herself and began pissing into the flames, screaming something inaudible. As she did this, the flames rose high into the air. I saw our opportunity to reach the pyramid undiscovered. Now, I turned for confirmation, but it was too late. Sally and Father Mohab were being held by some of the cult members. The others appear from behind me, brandishing the spears I had seen the use to cream O'Neill at the police station. I could do nothing. I put my hand up and surrendered. They lead us to the front of the pyramid tomb. Linda Tobias turned toward us. I could see as many as about 30 people, clearly more men than women. They were laughing at us, cackling at our misfortune. They throw us to the ground at the foot of the tomb, facing the fire a few feet away. It seems you have made my life much easier, Michael. I was going to summon something much fouler to pursue you and your whore. Why, Father Mohab, it's been too long, she said as she spat in his face. To hell witch, he said. Take the priest, corrupt him. Linda Tobias waved her hand, as the naked cult members set upon him, ripping his clothes away and grabbing at this cock. No, it is not me, my lord, it is not me. He screamed out as they started to scratch and bite him. Then one of the female members brought over a chalice and poured blood over his head. Stop this madness, I cried. It will stop for him soon enough, but you, Michael, and the Christ slut, your endings will be slow and agonizing. She looked at me as her eyes turned a bright yellow, and I felt my soul eroding just to even look back at her. Failing in their attempts to get Father Mohab to partake in the sins of the flesh, Linda Tobias walked over to him and stabbed the side of the gut. He cried out in pain as she pulled the dagger across his stomach, leaving a large intrusion. It's then I noticed Linda Tobias's face in the light of the fire. She still had Sally's handprint burn on her face, behind the blood-red markings. I could see the black mark. It had faded but was still there. It's then I wondered if what Mohab said had any truth to it. They must have power over us right now. The man holding me in place was barely 8 stone. I would easily be able to break free. And looking over at Sally, the same as she was held by a petite, slim girl in her early 20s, we must be under their power right now. I looked at the bag and our guns on the floor next to the man in front of Sally with his spear pointed at her. Sally was still wearing the backpack with the mazer and the book and the water she had brought with us. I looked back at Father Mohab been murdered. Miss Tobias had pulled the dagger out and he looked done. She turned around and was walking back to us. I looked at the handprint on her face again, then it came to me. Sally, spit at him, spit at him. I yelled at her as she looked back at me. Then she turned back to the man with the spear and hawked up the mightiest of greenies I have ever seen. The phlegm hurled through the air and hit the spearman square in the eyes. Ere it burns. The man fell back, grabbing at his face. Sally turned and touched the girl with her bare hand. With the similar effect, she started screaming and let go of her. With this, the man holding me loosened his grip. I jumped forward. As a spear came whistling past my head, I dived for the bag and the gun. Sally didn't miss a beat. She pulled her bag off her back and grabbed the water and the mazer. I pulled out the shotgun and started blasting the 2 men almost upon me. One of them was the man Sally spat at, and he fell back with a new hole. The other man was unscathed and was still coming. That's when I saw the water Sally had thrown from behind me hit him and take half his skin off his chest and face. Linda Tobias came back into sight. Leave them to me. She started chanting again in the strange, demonic language. They were closing in on us as we were almost completely backed up against the stone pyramid. I saw Miss Tobias start to wave her hand as her follows had gathered around her, all coming towards us. As I aimed the gun, Sally was still throwing water at them, pushing them back. Only the 1 bottle left, she shouted. Linda Tobias's eyes started to glow yellow again as her hand raised, ready to fire some evil spell. Then a loud, thunderous crash filled the forest. It was the beast. It was crawling down from the treetops. It jumped down and grabbed 2 people, a man and a woman, then jumped back out of sight. It had pushed Miss Tobias over when it had done this. They were making it back to their feet when it happened again, this time from the side. Another few people plucked from view. I saw Linda Tobias let her hands go in the direction of the beast, the spell she had been building up for me and Sally now crashing into the trees, missing its target, and cause mayhem to the woodland behind the clearing. I turned to Sally. She was filling up the mazer with the last bottle of water from the hotel. She turned to me. What are we going to do? Father Mohab's dead, who will baptize us? she said as she was still filling the wooden bowl. You can, Sally. You can do it, I replied. I don't know if I can. Will it work? She lifted the bowl high above us. It will work, Sally. I believe in you. I have faith. As I said this, she poured the water over us both. As we fell back onto the pyramid, the water came slashing down on our face and chest. I looked up. The hellish fiend was still tormenting the occultists. As I noticed blue lights coming from the trees ahead, then I heard gunfire. It was armed police storming the forested. Linda Tobias was wounded. She has a slash on her left arm and stumbled towards us. I will make you pay, she gestured with her working arm. But this time no magic happened. The armed police were closing in. I looked up and saw the beast now clinging on to the trees. As fire and light surrounding the monster, it began to disappear. Miss Tobias found a spear and came running at me and Sally. She stumbled, then fell. She had been shot in the shoulder by one of the armed police. And fell to the ground. I could hear radio comms echoing over the wood as the police moved in and around us. Both I and Sally put our hands up and kept very still. All clear, sir. I heard one of them say, You people are lucky we got here when we did. Now you're going to have to come with us. He put his hand out and helped me up, and some of the other officers helped Sally. I looked at Linda Tobias on the floor bleeding. She was bleeding but not dead. This was worrying as they moved us out of the forest. I looked around. It looked just like the temple, blood and bodies. Only this time some of them had bullet wounds, as well as been torn apart by that thing. We were placed in the back of a police car and drove away from the chaos that was still going on in the forest, with parts of it now on fire. I turned to look at Sally. She looked back at me and moved over to the middle sit in the back of the police car. She sighed, then put her head on my shoulder. What will happen now, Michael? If they ever let us go, she said. Life, Sally. Life. The end.